What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here, and a few months down the road, I want to do another top flagship speed test. We're going to be testing the top 5 smartphones that are on sale right now in my opinion. So we've got the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, widely popular. The iPhone 7 Plus needs no introduction. The new Essential phone from Andy Rubin, as well as the OnePlus 5, one of the personal favorites of the mid-budget tier. So with this video, I essentially want to see which one is better. See what I did there? So as phones are evolving, so are the displays, but the processors seem to be standing still. Every single one of these smartphones, but the iPhone, relies on a Qualcomm processor, the Snapdragon 835. So even though they're using the same processor, that's not the only thing that affects performance. Now I wanted to mention the new arrivals. When I did this top 5 flagship test last time, there was the OnePlus 3T, there was the LG G6, which aren't part of this video as they're being replaced. The LG G6 by the Essential smartphone here. This one just came out, newest Snapdragon chip, pretty much everything you could ever need in an Android phone, according to the co-founder of Android himself. A very nice phone, very beautiful looking. Not an AMOLED display, unfortunately. One of its biggest drawbacks. No waterproofing, no headphone jack. It's just a very basic phone with a beautiful display. So there's that. And then the OnePlus 5. This one has been around for a little while. A lot of controversy around this one. Looks a little bit like the iPhone 7 Plus, but a fantastic phone for the price. Very fast animations. Very curious to see how this one will do compared to some of the more expensive rivals. And then of course the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. So this is replacing the 7, the explosive Note 7, and a very similar to the Galaxy S8 Plus, but with 2 GB of RAM additionally and a slightly larger display. Pretty cool phone, just not enough to differentiate it from this guy here. iPhone 7 Plus, unfortunately, we don't have the iPhone 8 yet. I will have to repeat this test once that is available, but this is what we have for now. Always done very well in all the tests, so I'm not even worried about it. Even with the least amount of RAM out of all of these devices at 3 GB, I'm sure this one will come in, even first, second, around there. This one has a very similar processor to all of them, but it does have the oldest processor out of all of these at the same time, as it's a 14 and 16 nanometer construction. All right, so we're gonna start with a real world speed test. This is doing stuff you do on a day-to-day basis, social media and the such. So we're gonna start with Snapchat here. Loading it on all of them. Seems like the iPhone was the quickest there. Animations vary from device to device. Notice that the iPhone has this long drawn out one, while the OnePlus 5, in my opinion, has the shortest animation of them all. So Photoshop Express, iPhone just powers straight through it, with the Galaxies not far behind. The OnePlus is starting to fall back a little bit. Something I noticed about that one that you're going to be seeing here on and on is how laggy it gets the more applications it has open. But surprisingly, at this point, overall, most devices were on the same application, the Super Mario one. iPhone moved on to the Asphalt game, and then already to Grand Theft Auto. So the iPhone, being the weakest of the bunch with the least amount of RAM, is pulling through and is actually in first place at the moment, with the OnePlus right behind it and the Galaxies coming in third and fourth place at the moment. So moving on to poker already, you can see that Andy Rubin's smartphone is quite slow. The more apps you have open, it starts having this delay. Apps load very slowly. It only has 4 GB of RAM compared to the other Android phones, so that may explain. I mean, the OnePlus has 4 too, but it seems more optimized. Anyways, the iPhone is already on Yelp, really powering through these, and on Video Shop. Now this is one area that it excels at. This is the video editing portion, where we import about a minute and a 30-second 4K file, and it's going to compile it and then export it, and it's always been good at that. Every other device is still far behind at this point in time. Galaxies are pretty close. The OnePlus 3T though is already on the video editing stage. Does take quite a while on that one. Now the Note 8, man, that thing can handle some 4K video. I don't know if it's some extra optimization Samsung added to it. Maybe it's the 2 GB of RAM, but that imported it right away. And it's a champ when it comes to editing 4K video and exporting it, with the iPhone, of course, in first place though. So all of them at that point are on the video stage. The iPhone is already saving it, while the rest are still importing and compiling it, while the Essential smartphone takes an eternity to load Uber. This is the slowdown I was mentioning. I mean, look at this. Just to leave back to the home screen, I had to press it twice because it didn't register the first time, or it kind of froze. Every application has this crawl to it now, and I don't know why that is. It was pretty obnoxious. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys, the Essential smartphone pissed me off while using it in this video. It was so unresponsive. You'd press something, you'd press it again because you thought you didn't, but you actually did. It just has this lag. It's annoying. Anyways, the iPhone finished up with the lap number 1, 2 minutes and 32 seconds, already powering through the rest with only 3 gigabytes of RAM. Every application was still open in the background, exactly where it was left. So this is something that I love about the iPhones, even with just a small amount of resources, half of the other competitors. You know, it still handles itself very, very well. And that's a wrap for the iPhone. 30 seconds, about 31 seconds for lap number 2, just to open up every other application and check what was going on inside of it. So the Galaxy Note 8, using its 2 gigabytes of RAM, wasn't far behind. 3 minutes and 14 seconds for lap number 1. This is pretty consistent compared to the last speed test I did just with the Note 8. So that gives me a little bit of a better idea how it performs. Now, this one also has all of the applications left where I left them. Now, at this point, I'm basically going to speed this up because it was so slow. I mean, the Essential smartphone, the worst of them all. But the Galaxy Note 8 handled the second round with 36 seconds, about 37 seconds on the clock. So the Galaxy Note 8 is amazing. It's really not far behind the iPhone 7 Plus. I can only imagine the iPhone 8 and what kind of carnage it would bring upon the Galaxy Note 8. And with iOS 11, that would be a double whammy because all of the animations are shortened and everything. Anyways, the Galaxy S8 at this point, 5 minutes and 25 seconds for lap number 1. That's with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Notice how all of the applications that were preloaded on the Galaxy Note 8 still, even with some software updates, are not reloaded or preloaded in the background on the Galaxy S8. I don't know what it is, memory optimization thing, but that just doesn't handle it very well. So Essential smartphone still suffering. I mean, lap number 1 took 6 minutes and 28 seconds, the worst of them all. And not only that, all of the applications needed to be reloaded again in the background. So very disappointing, guys. That one was just terrible to work with. For a mid-tier phone, the OnePlus 5 is not bad at all. It impressed me. It even beat out the Galaxy S8, as they do both have 4 gigabytes of RAM. All of the applications on round 2 were even preloaded in the background. So that's an awesome phone. Essential disappointing. The iPhone, what can I say? That optimization, that Apple optimization, doing well. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and do a startup test. These are all running different versions of everything. Android 7.0, 7.1.1, iOS 10.3.3, Android 7.1.1, and Android 7.1.1 over here. All right, so with all the apps still open in the app switchers, I'm going to go ahead and shut them down and turn them on at a synchronized time with editing. Starting these up in 3, 2, 1. And they should all be off. So I did synchronize this to the very detail or the sound of me clicking the button. So it is pretty even here. And Samsung seems to be off. So is the Essential phone. Now all of these do have flash storage, so I don't expect any of them to be slow, but the iPhone is a winner here. The Galaxy Note 8 is in second place as it comes in right after the iPhone 7 Plus, and then the Essential phone out of nowhere makes a small comeback, and the Samsung Galaxy S8 Plus, and lastly the OnePlus 5. Now don't get me wrong, none of these were slow, but the iPhone was still in first place with a close follow-up with the Android phones. Most of it is the carrier screens. And next up, just wanted to do some synchronized app launching. So notice the animation was the quickest on the iPhone 7 Plus. The rest had this hang, I noticed, but the Galaxy Note 8 was still victorious in this round. Moving on, inside of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, wanted to preload the game. It does have a loading indicator there, making that easier. iPhone was surprisingly slow here, so that was the last. And the Essential phone out of nowhere wanted this round. Very interesting. I don't know why. It was slow, terribly slow in the actual real world speed test. And lastly, Super Mario Runs. So this is a partly web-based application. And something I noticed actually is that even though these applications do load slightly faster on one device, in this case the Note 8, they're not far behind on the rest. You're not going to suffer sitting there for a couple seconds in between. So next, I wanted to get a couple benchmarks in. Geekbench, surprisingly, the OnePlus 5, well, then again, I can't be surprised. It was slightly inflated according to the cheating reports, but that one had the highest one with the Note 8 in second place. And the winner of the Antutu benchmarks goes to the Note 8 with the OnePlus 5 slightly behind, and then the Galaxy S8. And that's pretty much it for the speed portion. I did also want to mention how much these cost, as the performance does vary in between, but the prices vary even more, as can be seen here. Now, next up, I just wanted to do a fingerprint sensor speed. This is kind of hard to synchronize, but in 3, 2, and 1, I launched them at the same time. Notice the iPhone 7 Plus was the last due to that animation that's drawn out. But in any case, there it is, guys. The speed comparison of the top 5 flagships, in my opinion. It's a very hard thing to do, don't get me wrong, but it was pretty satisfying to see for me which one was the fastest and slowest. And in my opinion, the Essential smartphone is slow and not worth your money. I mean, terribly slow in day-to-day usage. I don't know why they didn't optimize it. Even the OnePlus 5 was more well optimized. I do hope this video made it easier for you to see the differences between these smartphones if you're in the market for one of them, although I do recommend you wait for the iPhone 8. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Peace.